Okay, so I have a portrait I've been working on for months, and it never takes me this long to get through a painting. Well, once in a great while. But I got myself stuck in a corner and I couldn't get out mentally. I locked into a feeling about the images and the painting and how to work it, and I couldn't get out. So I've restarted this image for the second time, but I've also done another portrait of this girl and thrown it in the garbage as well. As the client said, it's just a copy of the picture, it's not what you do. So the picture meaning the reference material I was given. So now I'm on my third portrait of this girl, and I found it hard in the beginning, but I finally got to relax. And relax into not just the reference material, but relax into what I know. I've been running on fear. Every time I pick up the paintbrush, for months now, for like 6 months, every time I pick up the paintbrush, I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm going to not do something. It's early, I'm tired, so it's early in the morning, but I'm not going to do something bad to the reference material and not show respect to the person that I'm painting. That I'm going to make them trite, which is what happened with this girl. She got trite. And it's happened with a couple of other images lately, so they've gone in the garbage. So now we're on the third attempt. I'm trying not to make her trite, I'm trying to show respect to the reference material, but I'm also trying to work in what makes my painting unique. When I'm doing a portrait, unfortunately, I'm looking at one that I like, but now I'm angry. I'm looking at the wall, that it doesn't have my layers in it anymore. It's, you know, closer to a more traditional thing. But anyway, when I paint, it's black and white acrylic with a layer of aerosol stencil on top. Then we do acrylic, we do some black gesso again, and then I work in oils on top. And it's a very complicated way of painting. The way I paint, it's like one big gigantic puzzle. And I get myself, every time I get myself into a corner with my paintings, and then I have to work my way out. A friend said to me, why don't you paint the way I paint? And what this artist does is he projects the images he wants onto the canvas, traces them, and then he's got a whole layering system that he uses to make his paintings colorful and with depth. But I like the adventure in painting. Painting has got to be exciting to me. It can't be rote. To me, I understand Norman Rockwell did it, and he just pulled out the adventures in painting. If you see Norman Rockwell's work in person, it is absolutely amazing. Paint on top of paint on top of paint, and then dry, raw canvas. He was just so adventurous and loved texture and really understood color, so that when you look at his paintings, sometimes they look kind of trite, but if you really look, there's another layer underneath that gives it extreme depth. And when you see them in person, it's absolutely amazing. There's one painting of a grandmother and a son, grandmother and grandson sitting by a window in a diner, and this is, I'm assuming it's World War II, it could be 1950s, and there's workers around them in this diner looking at them because they're sitting and praying before dinner. Now, it wasn't so much the content of the painting that I cared about, although that would appeal. You know, that does have mass appeal, you know, in 1940s, 1950s America, when you're just wanting to talk to the massive Christian audience. What got me in the painting was the background. Behind them is a window, and it's dirty smokestacks, but they're very faded. And then there's one curtain to the side, the curtain of the window. And when I saw him in person, I was completely blown away, because he had not painted the curtain delicately with light paint the way we would normally think you have to paint a lace curtain. It was actually thick with white paint. And that's what brought out the white against the smokestacks in the background, which were grayish blue, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then all the other, the people and their jackets and, you know, all the other detail in there and the patterns. Stark white paint on top of stark white paint. And that's one of two things I took out of the Norman Rockwell Museum when I went a few years ago, was this curtain. And I saw that, and another one, sorry, another thing I took away was a button he had drawn on a sleeve. And it's not that he painted the entire sleeve of this one man in this very large painting. In fact, that section was fairly raw. I don't even remember if there was gesso on it, but I know there was no paint, layer of paint, detailing the sleeve. It was a sleeve that went down to a cuff that was nothing more than a few lines, and then a button drawn in with pencil. And those two things gave me permission to find the adventures in painting. So now, although my friend, you know, he traces, and a beautiful painter, traces and does layers that way, the same way Rockwell did with the, you know, filling in the color basically. Rockwell found adventures in painting the way I do, the way I learned to, in his layers and lack of layers and using pencil and doing all these fabulous things. It's so much more depth than you would assume just by seeing them in a magazine, his paintings. Well, anyway, as opposed to my friend who finds adventure in his painting in his way, I find it in making details, making these patterns that are just wacky and make no sense. When I'm starting a painting, like this makes no sense to anyone but me. But I know under here is the image, or somewhere in here, there will be an image of a little girl sitting on the grass with her arms out. But right now, it's squiggly lines and a puzzle. And I will keep working on this until I'm in a corner, and then I have to work my way out, make the figure pop out of this chaos. And that's what I love to do. But I was trying with this portrait to get the skin colors correct, right off the bat. Normally I paint people in teals and blues, and that's not what the client wants, because when you do teals and blues, sometimes children look dead. And no one wants dead children hanging in their home necessarily, especially if they know them and love them. So I've been trying to do Caucasian. And when I really made a mistake in being, okay, I'm going to get this Caucasian color correct from the beginning so that in the end I am brilliant. You know, it shows I'm brilliant. And that's not the way my mind works. My mind works, the big chaotic mess, they have to clean out in the end to find the beauty in the image. It's that way when I clean my place. It's that way in everything I do. Chaos, chaos, chaos. How do we clean it out? How do we find that clarity? How do we make it right in the end? How do we make it feel right? How do we make it look right? How do we make it feel right? So I'm back to doing what I do. In the original reference material for this girl, there's lots of hydrangeas in the background. I tried it the first time. It was fine for a while, and then it just, who cares? They're hydrangeas. So what I've done is I've added the textures that I have, stencils that I've cut, little pieces of plastic and things that I like to use for lines and images, my doilies, you know, they're all in there. It's going to be done my way, and in the end, the client, once I've worked out some of the stuff, and I start closing into the end, then I'll start putting in the notations for Caucasian skin. And I don't know why I didn't think of that in the beginning, like 3 paintings ago. Why didn't I do that back then? Well, I didn't. I tried to make it work. It did not work. I have to paint the way I paint, the way my head falls into place. Whatever works to make my head fall into place, to make the painting come to life. That's what I'm going to be doing now. I've got 3 paintings going. One of them is very large. It's for a submission in January. It's going to take up, it's not just one painting for this one submission in January, but it's going to be a collage of paintings I've done. It'll be submitted to an organization in Sarasota for a very big worldwide project. So I've got a lot of painting to do. No more screwing around with the Caucasian skin and trying to get it right off the bat. Can't do that. I'm not even sure Norman did that. But I have got to get to work. And there we are. I better do my laundry first though, because I have no clean clothes left. Ciao.